Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And we are in the middle of doing a bit of a podcast transformation. And the new podcast name is going to be Career Interrupted. And my guest today, Anna Eisen, knows what it's like to have a career interruption. So Anna, start by telling us your career interrupted story.
Okay, so I worked for quite a big TV company. I did my degree in journalism and then moved to London, and I landed a temp job in this TV company. So I started temping and then got made permanent, and it was an admin job, and I worked my way up over the years. But then part of their offices were moving to Leeds, so they were moving some of the staff over there, and my job was affected. So I'd been there 20 years, so
Wow.
quite a long time. And it was a lovely company, treated you well and everything. But for me, both me and my husband, we were both working in London, and our children were getting at that age. They were childminders, getting a bit old for childminders. So actually, it was the perfect time for me to be around at home more. So it came at just the right time, been there 20 years. So I decided to, change things around. And actually, it gave me a chance to focus more on my writing, which I had done a little bit of blogging for a friend's company before. So I thought, yeah, now's the time to change. So that's what happened.
Okay, so you had a career interruption, but that gave you the opportunity to think about a career change. And as you were blogging and you were thinking about that career change, you stumbled across TechPixies. TechPixies found you, you found us, one of those things.
Yeah.
Why did you decide, hey, I need to learn social media skills, and how has that benefited you?
Yeah, well, in the job that I was doing, I was looking into social media and websites. I was archiving websites, and I started to look at social media then. I mean, it seemed quite a young thing back in the day, like 4 years ago. It's all changed now. And so that got my interest up. And also, I was doing the writing, and I thought, how can I combine my writing? And it was an area that I was really interested in, social media. So my husband also was freelancing, and I could see he needed a presence, to get more clients. And I thought this could be the thing, combine writing with social media. So I did lots of research and came across TechPixies and thought this sounded great. So yeah, I signed up, and it was really good. It was such a supportive community because it was all at the time of lockdown as well when I was training. And it was just really good. And
you set yourself up as a social media manager, social media consultant, strategist. So you advise people on what they can do for their business. So give us some top tips and a bit of a teaser for how you help people with their businesses, particularly with social media.
So I help people in two ways, really. So I have one main client where I do all of their social media for them, and I do their email newsletters too, and marketing functions and things like that, plus their social media. And I've just got another new client that I also create the content for their social media. And then the other part of my job, what I do is really help small businesses on one-to-one services. So I can do like social media audits and help them with their strategy. Like power hours are really popular, to just have an hour where people just go through any sort of real frustration or help that they want, whether it's their profile or, content and that sort of thing. So it's two ways, really.
What do you find that businesses struggle with the most when they are using social media?
I think overwhelm is a massive thing, really, and finding the time. I think they're probably the two main things. And I think, especially Instagram, there's always so many updates and everything's changing all the time. And I think it's really hard to stay on top of all those updates. So, I think those are the two things. Yeah.
So overwhelm and updates.
And having time to create the content when you're running a business as well is,
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of content do you find is working for businesses? Can you give us some examples?
So, I mean, I think it's different according to what platforms you're on. Like LinkedIn and Instagram are my two favorites. I think with Instagram, Reels and video, they're always going to be popular and really help your content to be seen outside of your, normal followers and things. And then even on LinkedIn, it was traditionally more sort of text. posts and things, but even videos working well on there. So, and I think it's all about experimenting really, and just seeing what works best for you and your business. But yeah, I think video is a massive thing for a lot of the platforms.
Well, and when I teach the Social Media Superhero Bootcamp, we get people to take off their invisibility cloak to create that live video for the first time and to experience what it's like to really do that. So I love that you're someone behind the scenes, you're doing the social media for someone. I mean, you're really great about doing your own social media and taking off your invisibility cloak, but do you have to convince the people that you work with when you're behind the scenes, do you have to convince them to take off their visibility cloak and get onto the video? And how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is hard. And, I think you can't just jump straight in and just suddenly, not be on video and then all of a sudden be this person who's just on the camera all the time. I think it takes time. And I think what's really good with Instagram is that there's ways that you can have videos without showing your face all the time, but you can have photos of you and do clips of photos. So yeah, but I think when I started to do reels, I always remember I did a course with Socially Tracy, I don't know if you remember, on reels, and she said to me the first thing I had to do was do a recorded video, introduce myself, and it took me about like 16, 20 attempts on this video, and I was like, my gosh, this is hard, and yeah, it is always hard, but you just have to keep practicing, have a little bit of just post it anyway, I think, and not worry really.
Yeah, you can always delete it. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing. You can always delete it. I always say my top 3 tips for filming a video are to make sure you've got good lighting. So you've got great lighting, lighting that's on your face rather than behind you. And then to smile when you're talking, because that brings in some energy. But then also, like if you're not sure what to say, just write a little Post-it note and stick that on your phone. And you can even cover yourself up while you're talking and at your talking points, and no one is none the wiser about what you're talking about. But also not to hold the phone below your chin, because that's where you get the double chin, but hold it out in front of you is so important. Just what top tips do you have for creating videos?
For videos, I mean, I think also a tripod is a really good investment too, because you can move it further away. And so especially, I think with reels, you have the text at the bottom, and that was one of the things that I've had to work on recently. One of my clients, just say, because she was just holding the camera like that. And actually, I think it helps you be a bit more relaxed if you can use your hands a bit more. And so I'd say a tripod and having some of the equipment is good. You don't have to get really expensive things, but I don't know, really. Yeah.
I did a time-lapse video on Instagram this year that was me cleaning the kitchen. And it was just a simple time-lapse video, and it turned an hour into, let's say, a minute or something like that. And it just got a ton of engagement. People saw it, they commented on it. And and I used a tripod because there's no way I could do a selfie while cleaning my kitchen because I needed my hand. So I think the tripod tip is a really good tip. You've got a business course coming up that you're doing. Tell us a little bit more about that you're offering to people. And what I love about TechPixies, alumni, they go off and they learn new skills and amazing things. They get their foundations are nice and solid from TechPixies. They go and learn new things, and then they want to share it with people. And so I love what you're doing. So tell us about it, because I think this can be really useful for people that want to go further.
Yeah, sure. So it's for businesses, and it's called Instagram Business Masterclass, and it's going to talk you through all the main elements of Instagram. So it's going to look at your profile and how to really get that working for you, because social media now is a lot more about SEO and searchability. So it's all about keywords and things like that. So having a really good bio and profile is really important. So I talk through that. We go through all the different content types, like carousels and single image and what works well, tips and tricks, really. I just love it really when I can share certain tips and see the real aha moment from people, like that real, oh my goodness, that's amazing, So I just really want to simplify it for people and show people that it doesn't have to be hard. And so we do the bio profile content, do a little bit of reels too, and look at the analytics and insights and the main elements really of Instagram.
Oh, that's great. So that's really become a specialty of yours, Instagram, and that's something that happens too. Once you learn all the networks, you can say, actually, I'm going to specialize in this one or in these two. Why did you decide to specialize in Instagram? What was the the
Yeah.
aim?
Well, I really like the creativity of it. Before I came into social media, I always enjoyed taking photos, and Instagram was like this photo sharing platform, like with the perfect grid and things like that. So I always had that creativity. And so I would say like Instagram and LinkedIn are my two favorites, because with Instagram, I've got that creativity to do photos and video and things like that. But then on LinkedIn, I can do more longer form content like blogs and the writing side of it. So yeah, that's
Oh,
really,
like using the articles feature on LinkedIn
that's right.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
newsletter.
yeah.
So, okay, that's great. So I want to know what your favorite feature on Instagram is and what your favorite feature on LinkedIn is.
Gosh. I think probably Reels maybe for Instagram, because I love the way that they have now made it a lot more easier for people to create. So I'd say Reels on Instagram. And with LinkedIn, video is still very good, but I like the way that you can create the articles, and now it's helping. You can reach out to more people by, inserting keywords in your blogs, and yeah, being discovered that way, and making connections more on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Mm. Well, and I think it's important to know that for people who sell, I always say on the bootcamp that for people who sell a product to businesses, that LinkedIn is really where they want to be. And for people who sell products to consumers, so B2C versus B2B, obviously Instagram is really where you want to be. But there are people on Instagram that are B2B, and there are people on LinkedIn that are B2C.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they're not mutually exclusive. You can use both of them. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And you prefer those two over the other networks that you've learned as
Yeah,
well?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do X for one of my clients, and that's okay. But it's
But it's a
changed
good
so much.
discussion to have because it has changed massively. And actually,
Yeah.
we decided as a company, none of our customers or clients were on X. So we sort of said, hey, come hang out with us on the other networks. And we still have a module that people can do where they learn about how it works, but it has changed massively. And I just don't find it as nice of a place to be as it used to be. And it's not as
No.
effective either.
Yeah. And also, actually, one of the other platforms that I've just learnt a lot on recently is YouTube too, as well. So that's because the company, they have archival footage, and so it's these amazing historical videos that they have. So yeah, for them, video content is key. So yeah.
Well, and that's where the SEO comes into play as well, because YouTube is a search engine
Yeah.
and it's owned by Google, the largest search engine in the world. And so making sure that your content has all the SEO stuff is really important, not just on blogs, but on YouTube as well. And we found that to be really important. That's one of the reasons we added a YouTube SEO bonus to our YouTube module, because people really needed to know, how do I actually optimize the text that's on this video? And when someone's thinking about becoming a social media manager, number one, would you recommend it? I mean, obviously you're a coach and a social media manager, a consultant, strategist. You're doing a lot of different hats. Do you enjoy this career still? And it's
I
something you'll
do.
continue to do?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do really enjoy it. And, I think what's great about it is that it's always changing and evolving. So you never really get bored. There's always new ways, new things coming in. And, I've always loved helping people as well. Even in my previous job, that was always something that I loved. And so being able to help other business owners, and like I say, when you see them say, my goodness, that's so, you've opened up another world to me, it's, yeah, those aha moments are really nice, and you get great testimonials. And I guess, I mean, it's not easy being your own boss, but it does make it a lot more flexible around children and things like that. Yeah.
And by having a client that, having a one or two solid clients that are paying every single month, that creates recurring residual, revenue. And, even today, I was saying to hire a social media manager is going to cost you 500 to 1,000 minimum, right?
Mm,
Like some social media managers charge between 1,000 and 3,000 a month. Some charge more. And
yeah,
so, you're going to save money by learning it yourself. And then if you hire a social media manager later, you'll know what they're doing. But then
yeah,
also from the other side of it, if you want to become a social media manager, there is a real legitimate income for someone who's working part-time and flexibly, that you're not going to find anywhere else in pretty much any other industry. And that's
yeah.
one of the things that I really love about it.
Yeah, and I think there's always going to be a need for it as well, ever more so. So, yeah.
And, classic question, do you think AI is actually going to be able to take over the total job that a social media manager does?
Yeah, I don't think so right now. I think it always needs like tweaking and a bit of human input. But yeah, it is very fascinating, and I'm always watching it. I do use it. I find it great for idea inspiration and chat GPT, blog structure, things like that. But it definitely at this stage definitely needs a lot of tweaking and manual intervention. But I don't think robots are after our jobs just yet.
No. Well, I always like to say it's the social media manager that knows how to use AI that's gonna have a job versus the social media manager that doesn't, right? So,
Yeah,
um
yeah.
so I was trying to teach in our strategy call, I was trying to teach them how to use ChatGPT to look up hashtags because actually it's
Mm,
really good. You can say, you can put a prompt in that says, this is what my post is talking about, and I would like to some suggested hashtags, an array of hashtags that I can
yeah,
use. And of course, you still have to go research them to make sure that they're decent, and you
yeah,
want to say specify what you're using the hashtag for. But it was great because it literally whipped up, 30, and we said specifically, like, give us 30 hashtags or whatever.
yeah,
And so then it gave us 30 hashtags for each theme that we were talking about in this strategy. And we went and looked them up. And actually, by looking the hashtags up, then we got ideas for the types of posts that do well, so you
yeah,
can even sort of almost create a mood board for the type posts you want to, create. And so you can really, like, I find ChatGPT really useful for research and for collaboration and for improve. Sometimes you're a bit lazy and you're like, okay, I need this written in a better way, or
yeah,
please check that this is grammatically correct. Because I remember that was one of my hardest things as a social media manager when I did do it, was making sure everything was correctly written, and that I hadn't misspelled something. I still misspell stuff today, but those are the
yeah.
sort of little things that it can help with.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a handy tool, and and it's good to play around and try it out. And I think the more specific you are, the better it is. But also, it gets to learn your voice and the questions that you're asking over time. So the more you use it, the better results you'll get from it. But yeah,
Yeah.
interesting one.
I know. Well, now when you look back and you look back at when your career was interrupted, when you were made redundant, and now you fast forward to where you are now, do you pinch yourself sometimes that it all worked out and you're doing something
Yeah.
that you love?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And, I mean, it's hard because, when I was in my previous job, I was so happy, I loved it, and I couldn't think of doing anything else really. I was like, this is great, perfect work company, colleagues really nice, family friendly. But actually, the actual day to day job, I did love it. But now I'm doing something that I do really enjoy, like the creativity of writing and creating content. So yeah, I wouldn't have thought back then that I'd be doing this now. It's funny because I was thinking that earlier when preparing for this podcast, like where I've come now.
I think there's a lot to be said when you enjoy a career that you're doing and that gets taken away from you, and yet you're able to rebuild something that you love just as much, if
Mm,
not more. And that's exactly what you've been able to do. And I think that's so important. And your steps to doing that were exploring different things, then doing some training, and then applying what you learned and going from there. So, that I think that roadmap is really important, that just because a redundancy comes along doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to find something that you love as
yeah.
much or more. But the steps you need to take include exploration and training and taking action, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. And I did some volunteering too as well for a charity, local charity, because it was all during COVID and they needed some help with their marketing because they were recruiting volunteers to go out into the, villages to help elderly people and things like that. So I helped this charity too. And I think, doing some volunteer work to get started is also a really good way to learn and discover, is this right? Do I enjoy this? Yeah. So I'd say that's also a good tip.
yeah, totally good tip. And that reminds me of what I say to people who are volunteering. When you volunteer with social media, just make sure you give it a timeline, right? I'm going to do it for 3 months and then I'm out, because what you don't want to do is become this perpetual volunteer in social media, never getting paid for this amazing skill that you have. And so my top tip on that is that if you're doing voluntary work for a charity, which is awesome. Just have a deadline. I'm going to do it for 3 months. You'll learn a lot in 3 months. But then every month, write an invoice. Even if you never send it to them, write an invoice, put the number of hours you've worked, the hourly rate that you wish you were getting paid, so you can see the value that you're giving to the charity. The cool thing is, with a charity, you can put down that you've given them 100% discount. And so, like, let's say you gave them 3,000 pounds worth of work or 2,000 pounds worth of work, they can put that down as social equity. So in the sense that you can give them the invoice and you can say, look, I've given you 2,000 pounds a month for the last 3 months. That's 6,000 pounds of donated time. They can count that as social equity in their charity. And I think that's a really cool tip. And it's a great way for people, because I think charities are a wonderful place to learn how to do social media and apply it in a safe environment where you can't really screw up. They're just happy that you're there doing it in the first place. But then, to be able to actually get in the habit of writing an invoice, even if you put 100% discount, you'll see how much of a gift you gave to the charity or to whatever organization you're volunteering for. And they'll see it too. And they'll really value it more than they would because there's a lot of times out of sight, out of mind. People don't realize how much time things take and how much effort you put into something. So when they see that, it can really make a difference in their perception of you, but it really, really has a fundamental impact on your perception of yourself. So that's my top tip. If anyone's listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, and they want to get out of, that cycle of not getting paid and they want to start getting paid, you can give 100% discount for the first month, and you can give a 75% discount for the second month, and a 50% discount for the third month, a 25% discount for the last month, and then fourth, fifth month is full pay. People have time to work into it. There's lots of different ways to play with that, but I really am a big fan of invoicing so that you start to see your value. But also, I love your tip on that. Just, a charity is a great place to just get started and try something out, and you'll feel good. They'll be grateful. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate, Anna, that you came on today. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about your masterclass, or if they just want to find you to follow you? She's really fun to follow, you guys. She creates great reels. They're entertaining, and I have a lot of fun. When you pop up my feed, I enjoy watching what you put out there.
So I'm on Instagram at JustAndySocial, also on LinkedIn under Anna Eisen, and I have my website too, justandysocial.com, and you'll find me there. So,
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your journey. I think it's great for people to hear what that journey looks like, and that it's possible after redundancy to build up a career that you love just as much, if not more. So thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
All right. That was fun. I love interviewing alumni. And one of my favorite things about what we do at TechPixies is the long-lasting impact, right? I interview a lot of people who did our course, 3-4 years ago, and they are still having a positive impact in their lives as a result of that. And that makes me really feel very special, that the work that we do at TechPixies has a long-lasting impact. And social media is not going away anytime soon. It's something that every single business has. Of course, unless you're a plumber, plumbers don't have social media, and there's obvious reasons for that. No one wants to see what's in the toilet. So, unless you're a plumber, you need social media, right? If for your own business, or you can become a social media manager to manage someone else's accounts. So I appreciate you listening to this. I hope you found it useful. And of course, as we make this transition to the new podcast, Career Interrupted, we'd love your feedback on it. Hit us up at support@techpixies.com. Check us out at techpixies.com if you want to sign up to one of our free courses. And of course, if you're interested in Instagram for business, you'll want to join Anna's Instagram Business Masterclass, which is coming up. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. Have a great week.